As we continue the conversation about mental health, I'd like to welcome Jeff Olson to the studio. Jeff, thank you for being here today.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. And so typically you would be addressing students at the school, and this is an opportunity to share your message with students and parents where they are able to watch Daniel's story together. Now, if you could please share some of the context and information that you would typically share about the documentary.
Sure. People ask us all the time, why are we doing this? And how are you able to do this? And there's a lot of different reasons for that. The biggest one, one thing when Daniel was struggling, he would tell his girlfriend, no matter what he did, no matter what he would say, nobody's ever going to be able to understand what he's going through. So that's why I do this. I'm Daniel's voice now to explain some things that he couldn't explain, but not only him, people that are suffering can't explain and they can't put it into words. I've been in education for 37 years. I was a coach for 37 years. I've been teaching for over 30 years, coached basketball for 30, track for 11. And I always say this, my whole adult life has been working with youth, but none of that experience helped me with my son Daniel's struggles with anxiety and depression, which is the most common mental illness. And when he was struggling, he didn't know what he was struggling with. We didn't know what he was struggling with. And there's a reason for that, because nobody talks about this. People that are struggling feel alone. They feel like they're the only ones struggling with this because people don't know about it. They feel ashamed of themselves. But there's a reason when you say mental illness, that's when people freak out. That maybe there's a huge stigma involved with mental illness, that you might be crazy, you might be weak, can't handle everyday life, or maybe that you're just trying to create some drama or faking something and it's farther from the truth. Really should be called what it is. It's an illness of the brain, just like any other illness in your body, yet people don't know the symptoms of this because there's stigmas involved if you talk about your symptoms, and it's hard for people to talk about their symptoms because it affects how you feel and it affects how you think. If I came to somebody, or if somebody came to you and said, I have these body aches, I have chills, I have no energy, right away you would know they had the flu and you'd have compassion for them. If somebody came, if they had a bad heart, they could say, I have pain on the left side of my body, it's hard walking from one end of the room to the other. People understand that and people have compassion for that. But if you say, I don't feel like myself anymore, people don't understand it. Well, what does that mean? You could get more specific and say, well, I can't laugh anymore. Things aren't funny to me. You guys are laughing, joking, having a great time. I can't feel that. That leads to even more, doubts about what they're going through, and makes them feel so alone. Or even, I'm sad all the time. Well, you could have everything going for you in the world, and if you say you're sad all the time, people might think, well, I can say a couple things and cheer you up, but you can't, because it's a medical illness. It's affecting that part of your brain that causes you to feel that sadness because you can't feel other happiness things. Daniel was pretty much an all-American kid. He had tons of friends, he had girlfriends, he was good at everything he did. I mean, he loved sports. He was the all-state first-team quarterback. He was a player of the year in football his senior year in the Upper Peninsula. He was a two-time conference player of the year. In basketball, he was on the all-defensive team 2 years in a row in our conference. In track, he was an exceptional track athlete. So he was somebody that you would think had it all. No worries in the world, no reason to be sad, no reason to be depressed, yet he was. And through some of his darker times when we'd try to cheer him up, it seemed easy for us, or for anybody, to just tell him all the great things he has going for him in his life. But every time we did that, his answer would be the same. Well, if everything's so great, why do I feel this way? And we learned that with a medical illness, it doesn't matter how successful you are, how much money you have, how good looking you are. Medical illnesses will make you take a step backwards, and you have to do what you need to do to help that medical illness. Then it came, finally Daniel ended up passing away, and we had another decision to make as a family. Are we going to hide this? And we decided, I think, right then and there at the funeral home 2 days after he passed away, and unfortunately you have to write an obituary, and what do you put in it? So we decided right then and there that we were going to put this out in the open, and in hopes of educating people and trying to educate more people and let them know what they were struggling with. So they're more apt to get help, they're more apt to keep getting help and do the right things that it takes, no matter how alone or how ashamed that you feel.
Right, yes, thank you, Jeff. And we're going to take a short break and continue our conversation with Jeff Olson before the premiere of Do It for Daniel.